Have you ever felt like you're giving more than you're receiving in a relationship? Maybe it's a friend, a coworker, or even a family member. And no matter how much you give, they never seem to care enough to give back. But what if I told you that some people aren't just unaware of your efforts, they're actively exploiting your kindness? Stoic philosophy teaches us to be mindful of who we surround ourselves with, and to recognize when someone is draining us rather than lifting us up. So, let me ask you, are you letting people take more than they should? In this video, we're going to uncover 6 behaviors of people who don't truly care about you and how to protect your energy. Stay tuned for the last one. It'll open your eyes. But before we dive in, pay attention to this story, which will help you better understand the wisdom in this material. The story of Ayan, the quiet realization. In a bustling village nestled at the edge of a vast forest, there lived a kind-hearted man named Ayan. He was known for his generosity and unwavering loyalty to those he loved. Ayan believed that relationships were built on selflessness, so he gave endlessly, his time, his energy, and even his dreams, to make others happy. Yet, deep inside, there was an ache he couldn't ignore. No matter how much Ayan gave, he often felt like he was pouring water into bottomless jars. He'd share his struggles, only to be met with indifference. He'd go out of his way to help others, but when he needed support, they were nowhere to be found. Why does it feel so lonely, he wondered, even when I'm surrounded by people? One day, while walking through the market, Ayan came across an old man selling books. Among the stacks of faded pages, one caught his eye. It was a thin, weathered journal with the title, "The Weight of Invisible Bonds." Intrigued, Ayan bought the book and spent the evening reading it. The pages told the story of a man named Suren who, like Ayan, gave everything he had to those around him. Suren spent years believing his worth was tied to how much he could give, but as the years passed, he realized that many of the people he cared for didn't truly care for him in return. The story struck a chord in Ayan. That night, he stared at the flickering flame of his oil lamp, reflecting on his own life. He thought of the times he had shared his victories and seen others change the subject. He remembered how often he had stood by his friends, only to find himself alone in moments of need. The realization hit him like a sudden gust of wind. Some of the bonds he valued most were fragile illusions. Determined to find clarity, Ayan decided to visit the wisest person in the village, an elderly woman named Priya. Priya was known for her ability to see through the layers of human emotions. When Ayan explained his struggles, Priya listened intently. She then smiled gently and said, "Ayan, relationships are like mirrors. They reflect the energy you give, but not all mirrors are clear. Some are fogged by indifference, others cracked by selfishness. If you keep giving to the wrong reflections, you'll lose sight of yourself." Ayan didn't understand at first. "How do I know which reflections are real?" he asked. Priya handed him a small bowl filled with water. "Hold this and walk to the edge of the forest," she said. "But walk carefully. Don't spill a single drop." Confused but obedient, Ayan followed her instructions. He walked slowly, focusing on keeping the water steady. Along the way, he noticed something he hadn't paid attention to before. Some people offered to help him, others ignored him, and a few even tried to distract him, laughing when he nearly stumbled. By the time he reached the forest, he understood Priya's lesson. When he returned, she asked, "What did you see?" Ayan replied, "I saw who truly cared and who didn't. The ones who cared encouraged me to keep going. The others, they only made the journey harder." Priya smiled. "Exactly. Life is the same. When you focus on what truly matters, your peace, your happiness, you'll see people for who they are. The ones who care will always walk beside you. The rest will reveal themselves when you stop chasing them." From that day forward, Ayan lived differently. He no longer poured his heart into relationships that left him feeling empty. Instead, he cherished the few who saw his worth and walked away from those who didn't. The lesson. Sometimes, we hold on to people who show us time and again that they don't value us. It's only when we pause, reflect, and protect our own peace that we can see who truly cares. Ayan's journey reminds us that the clarity we seek is always within reach, if only we're willing to look closely. Before we begin with the first lesson, if you find these videos helpful, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay updated on the latest content. Let's begin. Number 1, they pretend to listen but never hear you. Have you ever felt like you were talking to a wall disguised as a person? You're pouring out your thoughts, your feelings, your struggles, and on the surface, they seem to be listening. They nod, smile, and even throw in a casual "I get it." But deep down, you know, they're just going through the motions. It's like shouting into a canyon, hearing your own voice echo back, but no one on the other side to answer. This behavior speaks volumes about one painful truth: they don't truly care about you. Listening isn't just about hearing words. It's about absorbing them, like fertile soil taking in water. For people who don't care, however, your words are more like raindrops on a windshield, noticed for a moment but quickly brushed away. They pretend to be attentive because it's easier than outright admitting indifference. They might make all the right sounds. "Oh, really?" Or "That's so interesting," but their mind is miles away. It's like giving someone a book to read, only to watch them flip through the pages without understanding a single sentence. Why do they pretend? It's often because listening requires effort, and effort is reserved for people they value. Relationships to them are like transactions. They'll give just enough to keep the account open, but they'll never invest deeply. Empathy, on the other hand, requires a deeper currency: time, focus, and emotional energy. For someone who doesn't care, that's a price they're unwilling to pay. They'll give you the appearance of attention, much like wrapping an empty box in shiny paper. It looks thoughtful, but inside there's nothing. And here's the clever trick they use: surface-level engagement. They might throw in a comment or ask a question to keep you believing they care. But if you dig deeper, perhaps bring up the same issue again, they'll struggle to remember. It's like playing a song for someone and they hum along pretending to know the tune. But the moment you stop, the silence reveals they were never really listening. So, how do you deal with this? The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control. You can't make someone care, but you can choose where you invest your energy. Think of it like tending a garden. You wouldn't keep watering a plant that never grows. Set boundaries. If someone consistently pretends to listen, stop giving them access to your deepest thoughts. Save those for the people who truly value them. Another important step is to observe actions, not just words. A person who cares will remember the little things, like a gardener who notices every new leaf and bloom. They'll follow through, check in, and make you feel seen. But those who pretend will treat your thoughts like sand slipping through their fingers, gone without a trace. Lastly, don't let their lack of care make you question your worth. Their indifference isn't a reflection of you, but of their inability to connect. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Don't chase their attention. Instead, walk away with dignity and redirect your energy toward people who truly hear you. In the end, those who pretend to listen are showing you a mirror of their own limitations. Let this be your cue to step away. Your voice deserves to be heard, not as background noise, but as music someone treasures. So leave the hollow echoes behind and seek the company of those who don't just hear your words, but feel their weight. You are not a raindrop to be brushed away. You are a river, deserving to flow where you are embraced. Number 2, they compete instead of support. Have you ever noticed how some people, instead of celebrating your successes, turn everything into a competition? You share a personal achievement, and instead of offering genuine congratulations, they somehow make it about themselves, trying to outdo your victory. It's like you've just run a marathon, feeling proud of your achievement, and they immediately jump in with their own bigger race, trying to make yours seem small in comparison. When people compete instead of support, they're not lifting you up. They're dragging you down to make themselves feel better. Imagine this. You finally land a promotion at work that you've worked tirelessly for. You're excited, ready to share the good news with a friend. But instead of celebrating with you, they brush off your achievement and start talking about their own career milestones, making you feel like your win was insignificant. It's like you've brought your shining star to show them, only for them to dim its light with their need to be the brightest. Instead of sharing in your joy, they turn it into a race to see who's further along, leaving you wondering if your accomplishment was ever enough to truly be acknowledged. Why do they do this? Often it's because of their own insecurity. They see your success not as something to celebrate, but as something that threatens their own sense of importance. When they can't stand the thought of someone else shining, they try to overshadow it with their own better story. It's like they can't stand sharing the stage. They need to steal the spotlight so they feel like they're winning too. Instead of cheering you on, they want to compete with you, creating an unhealthy dynamic where your progress feels like their challenge. But here's the truth. Their need to compete doesn't diminish your success. It reveals their limitations. Think of it like a garden. You can't make the flowers grow faster by stomping on them. Their constant comparison and competition only show their inability to support and nurture growth, both in themselves and others. Your achievements stand on their own, regardless of how they try to outshine them. So how do you deal with people who compete instead of support? First, recognize that their need to compete is about them, not you. It's a sign of their own struggle with self-worth, not a reflection of how important your success is. Don't internalize their actions. Your achievements are yours to cherish, and no one can take that away by making it about themselves. Next, set boundaries around your victories. You don't have to share your accomplishments with people who will just turn it into a competition. Seek out those who will celebrate with you, who will cheer for you, and who are genuinely happy for your growth. You deserve to be surrounded by people who see your success as a collective win, not as a race. Finally, don't let their need to compete make you question your worth. Keep your focus on your own journey. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and remember that your path doesn't need to be compared to anyone else's. As long as you're moving forward, you're winning. In the end, people who compete instead of support are revealing their inability to share in the joy of others. Don't let their actions bring you down. Keep your head high, celebrate your success, and surround yourself with those who understand that there's room for everyone to shine. Your achievements are not a race. They're a reflection of your hard work, and no one can take that away from you. If you've watched the video this far, make sure to comment "Thank God" to let us know you're with us. Number 3, they disappear in difficult times. Have you ever noticed how some people are there for the good times, celebrating your victories, laughing at your jokes, enjoying the sunshine of your life? But the moment the storm rolls in, they're nowhere to be found. It's as if their loyalty has an expiration date, valid only when things are easy. When someone disappears in difficult times, they're not just avoiding your problems. They're showing you that their presence in your life is conditional. True relationships are like a sturdy bridge, built to withstand the weight of life's challenges. But people who disappear in tough times, they're more like a flimsy rope bridge, collapsing the moment they're needed most. They'll give excuses, avoid your calls, or act like your struggles are an inconvenience. It's like being stranded in the middle of the desert, looking for water, and realizing the person who promised to bring it has vanished without a trace. Why do they disappear? For some, it's discomfort. They don't know how to deal with pain or hardship, so they run from it. For others, it's selfishness. They don't want to put in the effort to support you when there's nothing in it for them. These people are often fair-weather friends, there for the highs, but unwilling to endure the lows. Stoic philosophy reminds us that adversity reveals true character, and their absence in your tough times speaks volumes about theirs. The painful part is that their disappearance often comes when you need them most. During life's storms, when you're struggling to stay afloat, you hope for someone to throw you a lifeline. Instead, they abandon ship, leaving you to navigate the waves alone. It's not just betrayal, it's a reminder that some people only value what they can take from you, not what they can give. So how do you cope with this? First, accept the reality of who they are. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, and you can't control someone's loyalty. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Instead of mourning their absence, be grateful that their true colors were revealed. Better to know who's not truly in your corner than to live under an illusion. Next, redirect your energy to people who stand by you no matter what. True friends are like anchors. They keep you steady when the seas get rough. Invest in relationships where support is mutual, where your burdens are shared, not avoided. And don't be afraid to ask for help from those who've proven their loyalty. Finally, learn from their disappearance. Life will always have difficult times, and the people who stick around during those moments are the ones worth keeping. Don't let the actions of those who abandoned you harden your heart. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Use their absence as motivation to build a stronger inner circle and, most importantly, a stronger self. In the end, people who disappear in difficult times are a blessing in disguise. They show you who doesn't deserve a seat at your table. Let them go and focus on the ones who walk through the fire with you. Because in life, it's not about the number of people by your side, but the quality of their presence. And remember, those who truly care will weather the storm with you, not run from it. You deserve nothing less. Number 4, they undermine your boundaries. Have you ever set a clear boundary with someone, only to have them ignore it, cross it, or push it further than you intended? It's like building a sturdy fence around your garden, only for someone to climb over it or tear it down because they don't respect the space you've created. When people undermine your boundaries, they're not just testing your limits, they're disregarding your needs and forcing their way into areas of your life where they have no right to be. Picture this: you've clearly communicated that you need some personal time. Maybe it's a quiet evening to recharge or a few hours to focus on a project. But despite your request, they continue to demand your attention, interrupt your space, or act like your boundary doesn't exist. It's like saying, "I need some peace," only for them to turn up the volume, expecting you to listen, without considering the impact on your peace of mind. Your boundary becomes a door they keep knocking on, never taking no for an answer. Why do they do this? Often it's because they don't fully respect you, your time, or your limits. Some people believe their needs are more important than yours, and they take advantage of your willingness to be accommodating. It's like they see your kindness as an invitation to push your boundaries, testing how far they can go before you finally stand your ground. They ignore your no because they expect you to say yes, and each time you give in, they see it as permission to go even further. But here's the truth: your boundaries are not negotiable. They are the lines that protect your well-being, and allowing others to trample over them is a recipe for burnout and resentment. Think of your boundaries as the walls of your house. If you don't lock the door, anyone can walk in, and that leaves you vulnerable. Setting boundaries isn't about being harsh, it's about protecting yourself, ensuring that your needs are met, and respecting the space that keeps you emotionally and mentally healthy. So, how do you handle people who undermine your boundaries? First, recognize that this behavior is not about your limits. It's about their disregard for them. When someone crosses your boundary, it's not a reflection of how unreasonable you are. It's a reflection of their inability to respect you. Next, reinforce your boundaries with confidence. Don't apologize for setting limits. It's not unkind to say no, it's essential for your well-being. If you've communicated your boundaries, stick to them. It's like putting up a fence. If you let it fall every time someone pushes against it, it won't be effective. Be firm, clear, and consistent. Finally, don't hesitate to distance yourself from people who continually undermine your boundaries. You are allowed to say no, and you are allowed to walk away from relationships that drain you or disrespect your needs. Your peace is worth more than someone else's discomfort. In the end, people who undermine your boundaries are showing you their lack of respect. Let their behavior be a lesson that teaches you to value your boundaries and the peace they bring. Stand firm, protect your space, and surround yourself with people who understand and respect your limits. When you do, you'll create a life where your needs are met and your well-being is honored. If you've enjoyed the video so far, please make sure to like it. It'll take you less than 2 seconds and it'll put a big smile on my face. Number 5. They minimize your achievements. Have you ever shared something you worked hard for, only to have someone brush it off as no big deal? It's like you've just crafted a beautiful painting and they look at it with indifference, barely acknowledging the effort it took. You might even start doubting if your achievement was as important as you thought. When people minimize your achievements, they're not just downplaying your hard work. They're telling you that it doesn't deserve to be celebrated, and that can leave you questioning your worth. Picture this. You've been working tirelessly on a project at work, staying up late and sacrificing time with friends. You finally finish, feeling proud, and share the news with someone you trust. But instead of receiving praise, they quickly shift the conversation to something else, almost like your success wasn't worth their attention. It's like running a marathon and having someone tell you, "That's nice, but have you seen the other race that's happening?" The victory that should have felt like a triumph now feels small and unimportant. Why do they do this? Often it's because they feel threatened by your success. Your achievements highlight something they may be missing, and rather than lifting you up, they try to make your victory seem less significant so they don't feel left behind. It's like watching someone shine brightly and wanting to dim their light so yours is the only one that stands out. Instead of celebrating, they minimize because it's easier than confronting their own insecurities. But here's the truth. Their attempts to minimize your achievements can never erase the effort you've put in. Think of it like trying to cover the sun with a cloud. It might block the rays temporarily, but the sun is still there, shining. Your hard work, your dedication, and your growth are real, and no one can take that away from you, no matter how they try to dismiss it. So, how do you handle it when someone minimizes your success? First, recognize that their behavior isn't about you. It's about their own inability to handle your shine. They may not know how to appreciate or even acknowledge your progress, but that's on them, not you. Next, protect your inner peace. Don't let their dismissiveness make you question the value of what you've accomplished. You've earned every bit of success, and you should be proud of it, no matter how they respond. Celebrate your wins, whether they're acknowledged by others or not, because the only validation you need is the one that comes from within. Lastly, surround yourself with people who uplift and celebrate your achievements. These are the people who will see your worth, cheer you on, and remind you that your progress is something to be proud of. You don't need to convince anyone of your success. Those who truly care will see it for what it is, a reflection of your hard work and growth. In the end, people who minimize your achievements are revealing more about their insecurities than about you. Don't let their attempts to bring you down affect your self-worth. Keep shining, keep growing, and let their words be the fuel that propels you even higher. Your achievements are yours to keep, and no one can diminish them unless you allow it. Keep moving forward, and remember, your success is a story only you can tell. Number 6, they exploit your kindness. Have you ever noticed how your kindness is treated like a well that others keep drawing from, without ever thinking about the water they're taking? You pour yourself into helping others, offering your time, your support, and your care, only to realize that it's never really appreciated. It's like giving someone a beautiful bouquet of flowers, only for them to take the flowers, set them down carelessly, and never acknowledge the thought behind the gift. When people exploit your kindness, they don't see it as a gift. They see it as a well they can tap into whenever they need something, without ever reciprocating. Picture this. You're the person who's always there for your friends, the one they call in times of need. You're constantly giving your energy, listening, offering help, and being the emotional support they need. But when it's your turn to ask for help, they disappear. It's like being the lighthouse, always guiding others through stormy seas, only to find that when you're lost in a fog, no one comes to guide you. Your kindness is being used, not cherished. Why do they do this? People who exploit kindness often do so because they see your generosity as a free pass. They take from your well without a second thought, knowing you'll always give. It's like they're filling their basket with the fruit of your kindness while you're left with an empty tree. They don't care about the roots that nourish the tree, they just want the fruit. They're happy to take as much as you're willing to give without considering the cost to you. But here's the truth. Your kindness is not a bottomless pit to be drained. It's a garden that needs tending, and it deserves to be nurtured, not overrun. It's like giving a plant sunlight and water. It grows and blooms, but if you never see the blooms return, something's wrong. You should never feel like you're giving and giving, only to be left with an empty vessel. Your kindness is meant to be shared, not exploited. So, how do you deal with people who exploit your kindness? First, recognize it for what it is, an imbalance. Their actions are a reflection of their lack of respect for your boundaries, not your generosity. Think of your kindness like a shield. It's meant to protect you, not to be used as a weapon against you. You don't have to keep handing them your shield while they leave you vulnerable. Next, practice saying no when needed. Saying no is like locking the gate to your garden. It's not unkind, it's self-preservation. You're not responsible for everyone else's needs, and you deserve the same care and attention you give to others. By setting boundaries, you stop the flood of demands from drowning you. Finally, surround yourself with people who reciprocate your kindness. True friendships are like two-way rivers, each person giving and receiving, flowing together in harmony. If someone is only drawing from your river and never contributing, it's time to let that river dry up and find waters that are shared, not drained. In the end, people who exploit your kindness are showing you their true colors. Their actions are like weeds in a garden, trying to take over the healthy plants. Don't let them choke the life out of your goodness. Instead, protect your heart, set your boundaries, and cultivate relationships that are nourishing. Your kindness is a gift, not a commodity. Keep it flourishing, but don't let it be used up by those who only see it as a tool for their own gain. If any of the points resonated with you, be sure to comment, "Thank God I learned it," to share your thoughts and let us know how it connected.